Food, our energy source and lifeline for survival. Without it, we will cease to exist. But beyond basic survival, it has shaped human civilization as we know it since the invention of agriculture. What we eat shapes our cultures, our health, how we celebrate, how we mourn. Every day, people shape their schedules around when they will eat, often thinking about what they will eat. And with globalization of food products and cuisines, the options are endless. In the grocery store, there are products from all over the world that wouldn't be possible to find in a local climate. That would mean no bananas, no oranges, and no avocados for most Americans. This is all great and the advantage of a globalized world. But why do I often see California strawberries in the summers of North Carolina when they can easily be grown here? Hi, my name is Burke Whaley. I'm a master's student at Virginia Tech, and what you're watching is an independent research project that I've created about local food systems. There were many different topics that I could have chosen. I thought about electronic waste or biophilic design, but there was one statistic that really caught my eye and got me looking into local food. So I was reading a study one day done by Connect Our Food in 2014 in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they were looking at a 14-county radius and found that there was a demand of $665 million for fruits and vegetables that could be grown in that area. And of that $665 million, $97 million was going to local farms. And even when you account for wholesale prices and all of that, the difference is staggering. So it made me think, how do we lose such robust local food economies that once existed? Part of the loss of local food is due to globalization, the same thing that brought us more food into our grocery stores. Economies of scale force out smaller farmers, making it more economical for large agricultural companies to transport their foods into new markets. Rising land prices have also forced out farmers, replacing farmland with shopping malls, apartment complexes, and the like. But I want to focus on another question. What does the community gain from a local food system besides delicious fresh produce? After doing some research in the Charlotte area, I stumbled across FreshList, a grassroots company supporting local food in a modern way. For restaurants and average consumers, it's as easy as browsing their online storefront, adding to cart, and getting it delivered to your door every week. So I reached out in hopes they could help me learn more firsthand about local food, thinking I may not even get a response. Luckily, I did get a response, and after a couple of meetings, we worked out an internship to cover the length of the project to get a first-hand look at how local food gets distributed. So let me show you what I've experienced every week for the past few months. Every Tuesday morning, orders online close for restaurants and retail. From there, the lists are created and sent out to farms for what was ordered that week. Stickers are printed for every item to be tagged. On Tuesdays, we prepare and package anything that is already in stock that was ordered. Wednesdays are when everything gets crazy. The farms come in with orders they received the day before. Usually, it's all harvested that morning and brought directly to FreshList. Everything is unloaded, organized, and stickered with what it is, how much it is, and where it's going. It's then sorted into a restaurant's bin or the retail rack. I can't stress enough how organized their process has become for such a hectic activity. Things could go sideways really quickly if it wasn't for such an amazing team. Thursday, about as soon as it came in, it makes its way out. 3 routes on Thursday and 2 on Friday deliver fresh, local ingredients to dozens of restaurants throughout the city. Retail orders are delivered on Fridays and Saturdays, but can also be picked up. Now let's hear from the founder of FreshList, Jesse Ledbetter.
My name is Jesse Ledbetter, and I'm the co-founder of FreshList. Wanted to try to figure out how to help farmers here in Charlotte connect to chefs, and then use that to expand and help other communities using technology originally. But it's evolved quite a bit since then, so those early days, as we learned what farmers really needed and really how broken the system was and what needed to be done to fix it. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that are important about local, and the degree of that importance has changed over time for me, depending, like initially it was about the sustainability and wanting to, reduce food miles and carbon footprint. And I think that's a very important aspect of it. But ultimately, I think it's that connection to who is growing your food and where your food comes from that makes people appreciate and understand it more. And if we don't have that connection, if people aren't connected to how the food is grown and what it takes to get it from seed to plate, we're going to lose that importance in our in our own value system in our society. And traveling to other countries where maybe they haven't devalued food as much as we have, it's just really cool. Like, people will just sit around a table with friends and family for hours, just trying different things that people made and enjoying each other's company, and just a much more meaningful experience. So I think building that connection with the community. When I think about my impact, I think I want to do the things that we set out to do, for the farmers here in Charlotte that we've gotten to know and that we've worked with for so many years now. I want to make Charlotte a place known for having a great food scene, not in the sense of, the flashy, super high-end, nice restaurants, but just having good quality food and chefs who have the tools, i.e. the ingredients to execute their craft and just make really good food.
After hearing from Jesse and seeing how Freshless works between farmer and consumer, I headed up the road to Concord, North Carolina to visit Barbie Farms.
My name's Brent Barbie. I'm from Barbie Farms out here in Concord, North Carolina. We are a century farm here in Cabarrus County. We're farming right now on about 100 acres. My family has always been involved in farming. When I came home from college, decided that farming was what I wanted to do for a living. Fruit and vegetable farming was what we decided, the direction that we decided to take the farm. With us being in the area that we're in, we felt like we needed to focus on high value crops, crops that are more valuable per acre than the traditional row crops, corn, wheat, beans.
And how much of what you grow stays local, do you know?
99.9% of it. We focus on a lot of local programs with folks like y'all, Fresh List, Harris Teeter, Food Line. All of it stays within North Carolina.
And what does it mean for you and the business here when people decide to buy it locally?
I mean, it helps support our family. It helps support what we've done for the last 100 years and what we want to continue to do for the next forever, as far as I'm concerned. It's a sense of community. I like for the community to build me up so I can then in turn build the community back up. We're trying to connect by all means possible. We do farmers markets, we've got the farm stand here. Of course, we're hitting through y'all at Fresh List, through the grocery store stuff. Even though we're right here in the middle of Concord, there are people that drive by our farm stand every day that still don't have a clue where we are.
After Brent told me about the partnership with the grocery stores, I started to pay a little more attention in the stores I go to. And sure enough, in the local produce stand, right there was a sign that said Barbie Farms, Concord, North Carolina. Barbie Farms is probably the most established farm in this area. And like Brent was saying, most people don't even know where they are. And that's sad to me because Brent obviously has a passion for providing for the community, or he wouldn't be doing what he's doing. For anyone who's not familiar with Concord, North Carolina, it is one of the fastest growing towns in the nation. And when I was talking about commercial development forcing out smaller farmers, Concord would be a prime example of this. If the Barbie family wanted to, they could sell their land, wash their hands clean of it, and not work another day in their lives. For them not to do that and work excruciatingly long weeks during the summer shows extreme passion to me. So before talking to more farmers, I wanted to get the perspective of a couple consumers that are personally involved in the local food scene. What value do they see, and do they feel the same community connection that Brent does?
My name is Caroline Brown. So my interest in local food really started actually when I was in university at Davidson College. They have a fantastic farmers market there in Davidson, North Carolina that I volunteered with when I was in school. And it was sort of a new concept for me. I grew up in Atlanta where there was not really a farm for an hour and a half in any direction from my house. So I really loved the idea of being able to get to know the farmers that were producing the food, and really understand the ingredients themselves better. I love to cook at home, and so, understanding more about what items are in season in my area and how I can prepare them so that they shine the best, really piqued my interest in learning more about our food systems and about local food systems in general.
So you're talking about getting involved at the farmers market in college. So what are your feelings towards your community, and has local food made you more involved?
It definitely has. I think for me, local food has been an entryway into understanding my local community and especially the local economies in my area. Local food has given me a way to not only meet people who had different ideas than I do, but also helps me understand other issues like sustainability and equity and access.
Yeah, my name's Carolyn Edwards. One of my first official independent jobs was running the farmers market stand for a coffee roastery in a small town called Somerville, right outside of Charleston, South Carolina. Being there, I got to connect with people that were from all over the state, selling their goods, being really grateful and passionate about their goods, and connecting it with people. So from that point, I kind of knew farmers markets, community, local food, that's where I should be. So I found a super cool company in Charleston that was working with farmers, literally just helping farmers get their goods to consumers more easily. So it was a little mobile school bus. We just literally loaded up the produce on the bus and then took the bus to different neighborhoods to sell the goods. It's definitely, food makes a good excuse for being social. Food is kind of the centerpiece of most of civilization. It's the reason we decided to create civilization. And that's still true even in a world where everything is more convenient, it's still the centerpiece of everything that we do. It's what we center our days around. So if you just decide to center your days around things that are local, you're probably going to meet some people along the way.
So at this point in the process, I'm starting to notice a theme of connection to the community. It's definitely driving a lot of the local food movement. At the next farm I visited, I got to see this connection in action and found a different type of connection as well. I traveled to Nebadiah Farms to meet with Bernard. When I got out, I realized there was a group of people under this gazebo. They were learning about ancient indigo dyeing techniques.
But also we're going to use this to process the indigo today.
I got to watch this process as they picked the indigo out of the field, processed it, and then dyed their fabrics. Indigo dyeing is a traditional West African practice using the native West African Indigofera plant. Not only was this event a connection between a local farmer and community members, but for those with West African heritage, it's an ancestral connection. Ancestral connection is one of Bernard's main educational focuses. Through the farm, he runs the College of Ancestral Arts. Here's an excerpt from some information he sent me. Every human alive today has ancestors who, at one time or another, used gardening skills to survive. So we teach these skills in the context of gratitude for all our ancestors. We teach the basics of making art from natural raw materials, the crafts our ancestors used to make beautiful objects for everyday use. The awareness to decode the patterns of nature and the skills of using the most ancient technology to make that most basic of human tools, light and fire. Students will be trained to become successful chefs, botanists, horticulturalists, event planners, farmers, and small agribusiness owners upon graduation. Bernard is not only growing agricultural products for the community, but growing people into skilled members of society with a connection to where they come from. Now let's visit another group with a similar mission, farming in the middle of Charlotte city limits.
My name is Mason Olonade, and I'm the farm manager for Three Sisters Farm and Market here in Charlotte, North Carolina on West Boulevard. Here with the farm is a sort of proof of concept and a proof of demand for healthy, nutritious food in the corridor. The corridor is a food desert, and there aren't fresh, healthy food options available. The most used grocery store here is going to be Walmart on Wilkinson Boulevard and or whatever produce options there may be available at Family Dollar.
So not much.
Yeah, not much at all, and definitely not much as it relates to what could be actually nutritious. Given that this piece of land had been set aside for a commercial grocery store, and those commercial grocery stores backed out, the neighborhood decided, we're going to do it ourselves. And so they broke ground in 2016 to start the farm, and through the community's endeavors, it has turned out into what it is today. What we're doing is showing people not necessarily what can be grown in West Boulevard, but what already exists within West Boulevard that can be grown from it. The other day, somebody rolled up and they were like, "When's that corn going to be ready? I've been watching this corn, man. I've been wondering when this corn is going to be ready." And that kind of brings them in, and it harkens back to something that's really deep within them about, childhood, or, growing up and their parents used to grow it, or they used to grow that with their kids, or their grandparents used to maintain a garden or something like that. And we're kind of bringing them home, at home. So what the Seeds for Change program is it's a program where we educate high school age youth in the community about how to grow themselves. They participate in learning how to grow organically, and we have classes with them about entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and also about agriculture, teaching them, how to use money, how to save money, how to manage money, and then what that money looks like in the context of not only building their own business, but thinking about the farm as their own business. There really aren't many options for upward mobility in this community. And ultimately, through the ideas that we're exposing them to, hopefully they can find an avenue for them to find success. One of the students, Carmel, designed this embroidery, or this logo for the farm that says, "Let us grow for the future." She said she liked to draw, and so I said, "Hey, why don't you design us something for a shirt that we could wear?" And she came back the very next day with not only this, but 4 other designs. And so we had everybody vote. They decided to make this one, and so I grew her seed into the shirt that I'm wearing today.
I've got to admit, throughout this project, Three Sisters Market was my favorite part. Here are the renditions for the co-op grocery store they plan to build on the land. They're currently trying to raise all the funds for it. Along with providing fresh produce options, they're also using it as an opportunity to build up skills within the community, to provide for themselves what the city of Charlotte hasn't for decades: opportunity. Let's go back to Caroline and Carolyn, who had a few things to say about local food access. Remember Carolyn's story about the mobile food bus she worked for?
So it was a little mobile school bus. We just literally loaded up the produce on the bus and then took the bus to different neighborhoods to sell the goods.
That's what her story is about right here.
There was also kind of a layer of helping fix some food access issues there. We called it a Robin Hood economy. We would kind of take the same produce that we sold to a wealthier community and kind of found a way to subsidize it and sell it for a lower price to a lower income community. So that was where it really clicked. I was like, okay, there's a lot of layers to this.
Yeah.
There's social work, there's nutrition, there's climate change issues, there's agriculture, there's community, everything.
And do you feel that shopping locally for food is accessible?
That's a trickier one. I think it really depends. I would say overall, not particularly. There are some really great organizations here in Charlotte that are working to improve that access. So whether that's, various farmers markets like the Davidson Farmers Market that offers SNAP and EBT benefits, or the Bull, which does a fantastic job of increasing food access in communities where they may not have access to local food or really, many fresh foods at all. There are those great organizations out there, but I think overall there's definitely a lot of work to be done still.
Now, at the end of this project, I've come to an organic farm in the mountains of North Carolina. It's the perfect spot for me to just reflect on what I've learned so far through this process. Local food is so much more than just fresh produce. I've seen it connect and embrace. I've seen it educate and empower.
The ability for farmers like Brent to connect to consumers like Caroline, Carolyn, or you allows us to see the value of the food we choose to eat and keeps Brent doing what he loves to serve this community. While urban agriculture may never cover a dominant portion of diets, it does provide critical education and life skills and business skills that you just won't get in a classroom. In this way, kids can be exposed to more career options at an early age or apply their talents like Carmel did by designing the farm's logo. Underserved communities like West Boulevard would be more empowered through a co-op grocery store that the community would own and run together. Local food gets people together who hold different ideas and values and gets them talking to each other, something we desperately need in such a divided world. Building conversations around food, something we all love, is one way to get started. Most people can trace their lineage back to agriculture at some point. To bring it back into our communities means a deeper connection to our ancestors and family traditions. For those with lost heritage, it can be a newfound sense of pride and empowerment to uncover the knowledge of a homeland.
There's a lot that we can do to get connected with our local food systems. I think one of the best ways to get started is just to plant your own garden, to see the hard work and appreciation that you can get from it. And it doesn't even have to be something big. It can just be a small herb garden or maybe a couple of plants with your favorite produce. Here's what Jesse Ledbetter had to say about it.
Yeah, I think, one of the reasons that I got into this was just having a garden of my own with my partner and some good friends of ours. We got a little bit of property in the city and built some garden beds and started planting stuff, and just having that experience of growing something from seed and then trying to keep it alive and then ultimately using it, canning your first tomatoes and making pasta sauce or making, smoked eggplant. Just having that experience really was something that was impactful for me, and I just got to where I started appreciating the food so much more. And when you appreciate the food, then you're naturally led to, well, who made this food and what's their story?
I would also encourage you to go to your local's farmers market if you haven't in a while. And when you get there, just take it in and look at all the vendors and people who've come to get their food for the week. And talk to some of these vendors about their food and about their farm. Figure out why they do what they do and make a meaningful connection. After that, make a meal with all the ingredients you bought from the market and just think about all the work that the community put in for you to be able to have that food. And if you're feeling up to it, invite some friends over and share it with them as well. Because if there's one thing that I've learned from this process, it's that the connections to our friends and our community can be so much stronger.